The organ music swelled, filling the vaulted ceiling of the church, but the man standing at the altar wasn't looking at me. In fact, he wasn't there at all. I stood at the end of the aisle, clutching my bouquet so hard the stems snapped in my grip. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. "Where is he?" I whispered, my voice trembling. My father squeezed my arm. "He probably just needed a moment, sweetheart. Nerves." "He's been gone for 20 minutes, Dad," I hissed back, feeling the eyes of 300 guests burning into the back of my neck. Something is wrong. I didn't wait for my father's reply. I hiked up the heavy satin skirt of my gown and stepped away from the aisle, ignoring the sudden gasp from the pews. I needed to find Liam. "Sarah, wait." My father called out, but I was already moving toward the side exit leading to the Vestry as I pushed through the heavy oak doors into the quiet corridor. I saw my cousin Chloe running toward me. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with panic. "Sarah, stop." Chloe grabbed my shoulders, her grip bruising. "You don't want to go back there." "Get off me, Chloe," I snapped, trying to shove past her. "Liam is sick. Or he's hurt. I need to. He isn't sick." Chloe screamed, tears welling in her eyes. "Please, Sarah, just let me take you to the car." "Don't look." A cold, sickening dread settled in my stomach. "What are you talking about?" I pushed her aside and ran down the hallway toward the groom's preparation room. The door was slightly ajar. I heard a giggle. A familiar, high-pitched giggle that I had heard my entire life. Then I heard Liam's voice. Low, husky. "You look breathtaking, Clara. Much better than she ever could." My blood turned to ice. I kicked the door open. The scene before me froze time. Liam, my fiancé, the man I was supposed to marry in 10 minutes, had his hands on the waist of another woman. They were pressed together intimately. The woman turned around. It was my sister, Clara, and she was wearing a wedding dress. Not a bridesmaid's dress. A white lace wedding gown that looked identical to mine, only tighter, more revealing. "Liam?" I choked out. Liam pulled away from Clara slowly. He didn't look guilty. He looked annoyed. "Great," Liam sighed, adjusting his tie. "I told you we should have locked the door, Clara." "What is this?" I screamed, my voice echoing off the bare walls. "What are you doing?" "We are supposed to be getting married right now." Clara smirked, smoothing her hands over her hips. "Correction, Sarah, a wedding is happening today. Just not yours." I looked at Liam, begging him with my eyes to tell me this was a sick joke. "Liam, tell her to stop. Tell me this isn't real." Liam finally looked at me. His eyes were cold, void of the warmth I thought I had seen just yesterday. "It is real, Sarah," he said flatly. "Look at you, excuse me?" "Look at you," he repeated, gesturing vaguely at my dress. "You're plain. You've always been plain. I'm about to become the CEO of Thompson Global. Do you have any idea what that means? I supported you for 5 years while you built your career." I cried, tears finally spilling over hot and fast. "And that was fine for a manager," Liam sneered. "But a CEO needs a queen. A woman with style, with class. Someone who matches the power I'm about to hold." He wrapped an arm around Clara's waist. "Clara fits the image." "You don't. You cheated on me?" I whispered. "With my own sister?" "We've been together for months," Clara laughed, her voice sharp and cruel. "Honestly, Sarah, everyone knew but you. You were just a placeholder until Liam secured the promotion." "You used me," I said, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. "I did what I had to do," Liam shrugged. "Don't make a scene out there. Just go home. Go home?" I laughed, a hysterical, broken sound. "You destroyed my life." "You're embarrassing yourself," Clara said, checking her reflection in the mirror. "Just leave. Nobody wants to see a crying, rejected bride." I looked at them, the 2 people I loved most in the world, and felt something inside me shatter. But under the heartbreak, a spark of pure rage ignited. "I hate you," I spat at them. "Both of you." "I don't care," Liam said, turning his back to me. "Goodbye, Sarah?" I didn't say another word. I grabbed the veil attached to my hair and ripped it off, tearing a chunk of hair with it. The pain grounded me. I threw the crumpled white tulle at their feet. "You deserve each other," I whispered. I turned and ran. I ran past Chloe, who was crying in the hallway. I ran through the side exit, bursting out into the parking lot. The sunlight was blinding, mocking the darkness that had just swallowed my life. I didn't stop running until my lungs burned and my expensive white heels broke on the pavement. I was alone. I was humiliated. And I knew, as I fell to my knees on the asphalt, that Sarah the sweet, plain girl Liam knew had died in that room. Asterisk, you have to get off this couch. Sarah, it's been 2 weeks. I pulled the scratchy wool blanket over my head, blocking out the sliver of sunlight Chloe had just let into the living room. Go away, Chloe. I'm not going away. And neither is the smell of stale pizza, Chloe said, ripping the blanket out of my grip. Get up, shower now. I curled into a tighter ball, my knees pressing against my chest. Why, so I can go out and have people point at me? Look, there's the girl whose fiancé left her at the altar for her hotter sister. Nobody is saying that, Chloe lied. Her voice softened as she sat on the edge of the couch. Sarah, you can't let them win. You're rotting away in here while they're out there living their lives. Living my life, I corrected, my voice cracking. That was supposed to be my life. Chloe sighed, the sound heavy with frustration. I know, but look at yourself. You're better than this. I'm nothing, I whispered, tears leaking onto the cushion. Liam said it himself. I'm plain. I'm boring. Clara is she's everything I'm not. Clara is a snake in a Gucci dress. Chloe snapped out her phone buzzed on the coffee table. She reached for it quickly, trying to turn the screen over, but I was faster. I snatched it up. Don't, Chloe warned. Sarah, give it back. I ignored her, swiping the screen open. It was a news alert. A picture of Liam and Clara flashed up. They were at a ribbon-cutting ceremony. Liam looked powerful in a tailored suit, and Clara was draped on his arm. Beaming at the cameras, the headline read, "The power couple behind the new era of Thompson. Global." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. They're so happy, I choked out, dropping the phone. It hasn't even been a month, and they're the golden couple. It's all for show, Chloe said quickly. Is it? I looked at her, searching her face. Why did he do it, Chloe? Really? Was I just that unlovable? Chloe looked away, biting her lip. It wasn't just about love, Sarah, or looks. I sat up, wiping my face with the back of my hand. What do you mean? I heard some things at the office, Chloe muttered, avoiding my eyes. Rumors about the merger. Tell me, I demanded, my voice hardening. Liam was in trouble, she admitted reluctantly. The board wasn't going to approve him as CEO for the Thompson Global Project. He didn't have the capital buy-in. He was going to lose everything. I stared at her. He needed money? He needed Claire's money, Chloe said quietly. Her dad, your uncle, agreed to front the investment for the project. But only if his daughter was the one standing next to the CEO. It was a business deal. Sarah, you were just in the way. The silence in the room was deafening. He didn't leave me because I wasn't pretty enough, I said slowly, the words tasting like ash. He sold me. He's a monster, Chloe said, reaching for my hand. I pulled my hand back. The tears that had been flowing nonstop for weeks suddenly dried up. A strange, cold sensation washed over me. It started in my chest and spread to my fingertips. It wasn't sadness anymore. It was clarity. He traded 5 years of my life for a check, I said, my voice steady for the first time since the wedding. Sarah? Chloe looked at me with concern. Are you okay? I stood up. My legs were shaky, but I forced them to hold my weight. I walked to the hallway mirror. I looked like a ghost pale gaunt with dark circles under my eyes. But beneath the exhaustion, I saw something else. I saw the woman who had supported Liam when he was nobody. I saw the intelligence he had exploited for years. I'm done crying, I said. What are you going to do? Chloe asked, standing up behind me. I turned to face her. He thinks I'm nothing. He thinks I'm just a plain, weak girl he can discard so he can play CEO. Sarah, don't do anything crazy. I'm not going to be crazy, Chloe, I said, a dark smile touching my lips. I'm going to be his worst nightmare. He wanted a business deal? Fine, I'm going to show him exactly what kind of business I'm capable of. You're scaring me, Chloe whispered. Good, I said, walking toward the shower. Because if I can scare you, imagine what I'm going to do to him. We regret to inform you ... I clicked delete before finishing the sentence. That was the 5th rejection letter today. I rubbed my temples, the glow of the laptop screen burning my eyes in the dim light of Chloe's kitchen. Any luck? Chloe called out from the other room. If by luck you mean a rapidly shrinking bank account and a bruised ego. Then yes, tons, I muttered to myself. I was about to close the browser when a new notification pinged. The sender's name stopped my breath. Office of Ethan Vance. Ethan Vance? I whispered. He was a myth in our circles. The global CEO, the man who actually owned the empire Liam's family merely managed. I remembered him from the annual Christmas parties. He was the man in the corner, nursing a scotch, watching the room with terrifying intensity. We had spoken maybe twice. Once I spilled wine near him and he just stared until I scurried away. I opened the email. No subject line. Just a time and an address. Come alone. 3 hours later, I stood in an office that cost more than my parents' house. The view of the city was staggering, but the man behind the desk was even more imposing. Ethan Vance didn't look up when I entered. He was signing documents, his pen moving in sharp, aggressive strokes. Sit, he commanded, his voice deep and smooth like polished gravel. I sat, clutching my cheap purse. Mr. Vance, I received your email. Is this about the administrative assistant position? He finally looked up. His eyes were dark, intelligent, and completely unreadable. Do you think I interview secretaries, Sarah? I don't know, I stammered. I just need a job. You need more than a job, he said, leaning back in his leather chair. You need dignity. And revenge. I stiffened. I'm not looking for trouble. Trouble found you? He countered. Liam's little stunt with your sister wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was a PR nightmare. The local tabloids are calling Thompson Global a soap opera. My investors don't like soap operas. They like stability. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, though I wasn't sorry at all. But what does that have to do with me? I need to clean house, Ethan said, standing up and walking around the desk. He leaned against the edge, crossing his arms. I'm going to restructure the local branch. But if I fire Liam now, right after his fairy tale engagement to the heiress, the media will side with him. They love a love story. So he wins, I said bitterly. No, we changed the narrative, Ethan said, locking eyes with me. I need a distraction. Something big enough to overshadow them. Something that makes Liam look like a fool for letting you go. I don't understand. I need a partner, he said bluntly. Someone who knows Liam's weaknesses. Someone who has a reason to destroy him. You want me to spy on him? No, Ethan said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He tossed it onto the desk. It slid across the mahogany surface and stopped right in front of me. I want you to be my fiancé. The room spun. I stared at the box, then up at him. You're joking. I never joke about business, he said, his face dead serious. You pretend to be the love of my life. We attend the galas. We dominate the headlines. You get a salary, a wardrobe, and access to the company records to help me find the dirt I need to bury Liam legally. In exchange, you get to watch him realize he threw away a diamond to pick up a rock. A fake engagement? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. To you? Is it too much for you? He challenged, tilting his head. Are you still the plain girl who runs away? My heart pounded against my rib sphere, yes, but also a rush of adrenaline I hadn't felt in years. I reached out and opened the box. A massive diamond glittered back at me. It was a weapon. I'm not running anymore, I said, looking up at him. Ethan smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. It was a shark's grin. Good, put it on. Asterisk, sign here, Ethan said, sliding a thick document across his desk. And here. And initial the bottom of page 4. I picked up the heavy fountain pen. My hand didn't shake. What happens if I breach the contract? You won't, Ethan said, not looking up from his laptop. Because if you do, the penalty clause will bankrupt you faster than Liam's spending habits. This isn't a game, Sarah, it's a merger. You are an asset now. I expect a return on my investment. I signed the last page and pushed the stack back to him. I understand. What's the first step? Ethan finally looked at me, his gaze critical, sweeping from my messy bun to my scuffed flats. We burn everything. Excuse me? Metaphorically. Though I wouldn't mind burning that cardigan, he said dryly. He pressed a button on his intercom. Mark? Send the team in. The doors opened, and a man who looked like he was carved out of granite walked in. He was huge, with a scar running through his eyebrow. This was Mark, the head of security. This is the new package? Mark asked, his voice rough. She is, Ethan replied. She needs to learn how to walk without looking like she's apologizing for existing. Fix her posture. I'll handle the mind. The next 2 weeks were a blur of exhaustion and adrenaline. My day started at 5 a.m. Read this, Ethan commanded one morning, tossing a leather binder onto the table in his penthouse library. Thomson Global's acquisition history for the last 20 years. All of it? I asked, eyeing the thickness of the file. By lunch, he said, pouring himself coffee. If you're going to be my fiancé, you need to know more about my company than Liam does. Which, frankly, isn't a high bar. Liam never read the reports, I muttered, opening the binder. He just looked at the summaries. Exactly. That's why he's weak. You will be strong. By the afternoon, I was with Mark in the mirrored gym. Stop, Mark barked. I froze mid-step. What? You're slouching. You walk like you're afraid someone is going to hate you, Mark said, circling me. Chin up. Higher. You are engaging to the richest man in the hemisphere. You own the room before you even enter it. It feels unnatural, I argued, rolling my shoulders back. Fake it until you believe it, Mark said. Walk toward the mirror. Don't look at your feet. Look at your eyes. If you can't hold your own gaze, how are you going to hold Liam's? I took a breath, stared into my own reflection, and walked. Click, click. The sound of the heels echoed sharply. Better, Mark grunted. Again. The physical transformation was the final step. I sat in a salon chair for 6 hours while a team hired by Ethan worked on me. When they spun the chair around, I gasped out the mousy brown hair was gone, replaced by a sleek, rich chestnut wave that framed my face. My skin glowed. The makeup was sharp, highlighting cheekbones I didn't know I had. I went back to Chloe's apartment to pack my final things. When I walked in, she dropped a plate. It shattered on the floor. Oh my God, Chloe whispered, stepping over the ceramic shards. Sarah? Hey, Chloe, I said, my voice sounding different, smoother, practiced. You look. She reached out, touching the fabric of my tailored blazer. You look dangerous. Do I look like a CEO's wife? You look like you ate the CEO's wife, Chloe laughed, tears springing to her eyes. Liam is going to have a heart attack. That's the plan, I said, zipping up my suitcase. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Ethan. The car is outside. We have the gala tonight. Don't be late. I looked at the old photo of Liam and me on Chloe's fridge. I looked happy in it, naive. Pathetic. I took the photo down and ripped it in half. Are you okay? Chloe asked softly. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel the crushing weight of heartbreak. I felt the cold, hard armor I had built around it. I'm perfect, I said. Let's go to work. The heavy double doors to the ballroom swung open, unleashing a wave of orchestral music and the low hum of expensive conversation. Ready? Ethan murmured, offering me his arm. I smoothed the silk of my midnight blue gown, feeling the cold weight of the diamond necklace against my collarbone. As I'll ever be. Shoulders back, he reminded me, his voice barely a whisper. You own this room. We stepped inside. For a split second, nobody noticed. Then a ripple went through the crowd. Heads turned. Whispers started. I felt hundreds of eyes land on me. Flashbulbs from the press pit erupted like a lightning storm. Keep walking, Ethan said, his hand warm and steady on my arm. Smile, a small one. Like you have a secret. I curved my lips just slightly, channeling every ounce of training Mark had drilled into me. We glided toward the center of the room. Mr. Vance. A booming voice called out. It was Mr. Thompson, Liam's father. He hurried over, sweating slightly in his tuxedo. We weren't expecting you to attend the local gala, sir. What a surprise. I like to keep an eye on my investments, Thompson, Ethan said smoothly. You remember my fiancé, Sarah? Mr. Thompson froze. He squinted at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. Sarah? Is that ... Sarah? Hello, Mr. Thompson, I said, my voice cool and polished. Lovely to see you again. The venue is charming. You look different, he stammered, staring at the diamonds around my neck. My goodness. Success changes a person, I replied simply. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. 2 figures were cutting through the crowd. My pulse spiked, but I forced my breathing to remain even. Liam and Clara. Liam stopped dead 5 feet away. He was holding a glass of champagne that looked like it was about to snap in his grip. His eyes were wide, scanning me from the designer heels to the professionally styled hair. He looked like he was seeing a ghost. Clara stood beside him, her face twisting into a mask of ugly shock. She was wearing a red dress that suddenly looked cheap compared to the custom silk I wore. Sarah? Liam whispered. The word was strangled. I didn't turn my body toward him. I just tilted my head slightly, offering a polite, distant nod. Liam, Clara, what are you doing here? Clara hissed, stepping forward. And why are you with him? Ethan stepped slightly in front of me, a protective wall of expensive wool. Miss Clara, I believe? Sarah is here as my partner. Is there a problem? Clara's mouth clamped shut. Even she wasn't stupid enough to yell at the owner of the company. No problem, sir, Liam said quickly, his voice high and nervous. We were just ... surprised. We didn't know Sarah knew you. There is a lot you don't know, Ethan said dismissively. Come, darling. The board members are waiting. He guided me away, leaving them standing there in our wake. I felt Liam's gaze burning into my back. 20 minutes later, I was alone near the balcony, taking a breather while Ethan spoke to a senator. I heard footsteps behind me. Sarah. I turned slowly. Liam was there. He looked disheveled, his tie slightly crooked. Liam, I said, checking my watch. I have about 30 seconds before I need to be back inside. What is this? He demanded, stepping closer. You and Vance? Since when? Does it matter? I asked, looking him in the eye. You made your choice. I didn't know you could look like this, he stammered, raking a hand through his hair. You look incredible, Sarah. God, I've missed you. I almost laughed. You missed me? Or you missed the feeling of control? I made a mistake, he whispered, reaching for my hand. Clara is. She's crazy. She spends all my money. She doesn't understand me like you do. Sarah, we can fix this. I looked at his hand hovering near mine. A month ago, I would have given anything for his touch. Now I just felt revulsion. Fix what, Liam? I asked coldly. You left me at the altar. I was under pressure. You know my dad, he pleaded. But seeing you tonight, I realized I still love you. Leave him. Come back to me. We can start over. I stepped back, putting distance between us. You really don't get it, do you? I said, my voice dripping with ice. I didn't come here to get you back. I came here to show you exactly what you threw away. Sarah, please. You wanted a CEO's wife, Liam, I interrupted, turning to walk away. Well, you got your wish. I just moved on to the real CEO. You're playing in the minor leagues now. I walked back into the ballroom without looking back, leaving him standing alone in the shadows. Asterisk, the heavy glass door of the conference room clicked shut, sealing us in the air-conditioned silence. I sat at the right hand of the table, directly next to Ethan. Liam was relegated to the far end, sitting among the junior executives. Let's discuss the quarterly projections for the Riverside development, Ethan said, not even looking up from his tablet. Liam, that's your pet project. Liam straightened his tie, looking nervous. Yes, sir. We are on track for a Q3 launch. The initial investment from outside partners has secured the land rights. Outside partners, I repeated, my voice cutting through the room. I tapped my pen against the glass table. You mean Clara's father? Liam stiffened. The source of the capital isn't relevant to the operational timeline, Sarah. It is if the capital is being mismanaged, I countered smoothly. I reviewed the preliminary logistics report this morning. You're 20% over budget on materials that haven't even been delivered yet. Where is that money, Liam? The room went deadly silent. The other executives looked between me and Liam, eyes wide. There are fluctuating market costs, Liam stammered, his face turning a blotchy red. You don't understand the construction industry. I understand math, I said, leaning back in my chair. Ethan, I suggest we audit the Riverside accounts before releasing the next tranche of funding. Ethan finally looked up, a faint, approving smirk playing on his lips. Agreed. Motion passed. Next item. I watched Liam crumble. He slumped in his chair, staring at me with a mix of hatred and genuine fear. For the first time, I didn't feel small under his gaze. I felt like a giant. Later that afternoon, I sat in Ethan's private office. The blinds were drawn and files were spread across his desk. You enjoyed that, Ethan observed, handing me a coffee. I'd be lying if I said I didn't, I admitted, taking a sip. But I wasn't just trying to embarrass him. I was serious about the numbers. They don't add up. I know, Ethan said, pulling up a spreadsheet on his large monitor. Look at this. Consulting fees. He's paid out nearly $500,000 to a shell company in the Caymans in the last 3 months. I leaned in, scanning the data. My heart raced, not with anxiety, but with the thrill of the hunt. That's Clara's money. Her dad gave him $5 million for the project. Liam is siphoning it off. To cover what? Ethan asked. Gambling? Debts? Lifestyle, I said, pointing to the dates. Look at this withdrawal. It matches the week he bought Clara that new Porsche. And this one? The week they went to the Maldives. He's using corporate project funds to play rich, Ethan concluded, his voice hard. That's embezzlement. And fraud. It's leverage, I corrected. If we can prove he authorized these transfers personally, he goes to jail. Or at the very least, he gets blacklisted from every boardroom in the country. We need the original authorization signatures, Ethan said. They'll be in the physical archives on the secure floor. Liam has the only other key. Leave it to me, I said, standing up. I know where he hides his spare keys. He never changed his habits. I walked out of the office and headed toward the elevators. The doors opened and I nearly collided with Liam. He looked frantic, clutching a briefcase. Sarah? He breathed, stepping back. I need to talk to you. I'm busy, Liam. He blocked my path. Why are you doing this? Auditing the accounts? You're going to ruin me. I'm just protecting the company, I said innocently, pressing the button for the lobby. If you haven't done anything wrong, you have nothing to worry about. Right? I saw it then, the flicker of absolute terror in his eyes. He knew I was closing in. You're vindictive, he whispered. I'm competent, I smiled, stepping into the elevator as the door slid shut between us. There's a difference. As the car descended, I leaned against the mirrored wall. The old raw pain of the wedding was gone. In its place was something intoxicating power, and I was just getting started. My phone buzzed against the marble countertop. 2 a.m., it was Liam. Again. Are you going to answer it? Chloe asked, pausing the movie we were watching. No, I said, picking up the phone. But I will put it on speaker. I tapped the screen. Liam's voice filled the quiet kitchen. It was slurred, desperate. Sarah? Please pick up. I know you're there. Look, I can't do this anymore. Clara is driving me insane. She bought a horse today. A horse. We don't even own a stable. I miss you. You were always so sensible. I love you, Sarah. I never stopped. Please, just call me back. The message ended with a beep. Chloe burst out laughing. A horse? Seriously? She thinks the money is infinite, I said, deleting the voicemail. She has no idea the tap is about to run dry. He sounds pathetic, Chloe noted, shaking her head. Do you feel anything? I looked at the black screen of my phone. I feel powerful, it's strange. A month ago, that call would have broken me. Now it's just data. Data? Proof that he's weak. He's cracking, Chloe, and I'm going to help him break. The next morning, I stood by the copier, casually organizing a stack of files. I had accidentally left a folder on Mr. Thompson's desk earlier. Preliminary report showing the budget overruns on the Riverside project. Highlighting the miscellaneous expenses category. I didn't have to wait long. The door to Mr. Thompson's office flew open. His face was purple. Liam, get in here now. He roared. The entire floor froze. Heads popped up from cubicles. Liam scrambled out of his office, looking pale and hungover. Dad? What's wrong? Don't you dad me? Mr. Thompson shouted, waving the file in the air. I just saw the vendor list for the Riverside launch. Why are we paying $50,000 for aesthetic consultation? We build skyscrapers, not art galleries. It was essential for the brand image, Liam stammered, his eyes darting around the room. Landing on me, I offered him a small, polite smile. Brand image? Mr. Thompson slammed the file onto a nearby desk. You are bleeding this company dry. If this project fails, we are finished. Fix this mess, or so help me God, I will find someone who can. He stormed back into his office. Slamming the door so hard the glass walls rattled. Liam stood there, humiliated, stripped bare in front of his employees. He walked over to me, his voice a low hiss. You did this. I just organized the files, Liam, I whispered, keeping my voice sweet. Transparency is key in business, isn't it? You're trying to turn him against me. He's turning against you because you're incompetent, I said, stepping closer so only he could hear. And by the way, tell Clara to return the horse. You're going to need that cash. Liam recoiled as if I'd slapped him. How do you know about that? I know everything, I said, turning back to my copies. You should really change your passwords. Clara Forever wasn't very hard to guess. I walked away, the sound of the copier humming behind me like a victory song. The invincible CEO was gone. In his place was a scared little boy, and I held the match that would burn his world down. Asterisk, the string quartet playing in Ethan's garden was soothing. But the peace shattered the moment the front gates crashed open. Sarah. I know she's in there. I froze, my hand tightening around my champagne flute. The conversation around me died instantly. I turned to see Liam storming onto the patio. He looked wrecked, shirt unbuttoned, hair wild, eyes red-rimmed. Liam? I stepped forward, not out of concern, but to shield the other guests from his mess. What are you doing here? This is a private event. I don't care. Liam shouted, stumbling over a decorative planter. He rushed toward me, ignoring the gasps of the investors and board members surrounding us. He fell to his knees right at my feet. Liam, get up, I said, my voice low and cold. You are embarrassing yourself. I don't care about dignity anymore, Sarah, he sobbed, reaching for the hem of my dress. I stepped back sharply. I made a mistake. A horrible mistake. I can't live without you. I hate her. I hate Clara. I'll leave her tonight. Just say the word. The word? I asked, looking down at him with nothing but exhaustion. You want me to take you back? After everything? I was confused. I was pressured. He pleaded, tears streaming down his face. You're the only one who ever truly loved me. Please, Sarah, come home. I looked at the man on his knees. I searched for any spark of the love I used to feel, but there was only a hollow silence. Liam, I said, my voice projecting clearly across the silent garden. You are looking for a ghost. What? He blinked, confused. The woman you loved died on our wedding day, I told him, my tone flat. You killed her. I am not her. Before he could answer, a screech cut through the air. You manipulative witch. Clara came sprinting across the lawn, her heels sinking into the grass. She looked deranged, her makeup smeared. She shoved Liam aside and pointed a shaking finger in my face. You planned this. She screamed. You lured him here to humiliate me. He came here on his own, Clara, I replied calmly. Take him and leave. You think you're so special? Clara yelled, spinning around to address the crowd. She's a fraud. She's sleeping her way to the top. That's the only reason Ethan Vance hired her. She's nothing but a gold digger who, that is enough. The voice was not loud, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. Ethan stepped out from the shadows of the terrace. He didn't look angry. He looked bored. Mr. Vance, Clara stammered, losing her momentum. I was just exposing. You are exposing your own insecurity, Ethan said, walking to my side. He didn't touch me, but his presence was a shield. Sarah is not my mistress, Miss Clara. She is my most valued strategic partner. She has done more for Thompson Global in 1 month than your fiancé's done in 5 years. The crowd murmured in agreement. I saw the board members exchanging looks of disgust directed at Liam and Clara. She's a partner? Clara whispered, her face pale. She's the future of this company, Ethan said, his eyes hard. And you are trespassing. Security. Mark appeared instantly, flanked by 2 guards. Get off me. Liam shouted as they hauled him up. He looked at me one last time, his eyes full of regret. Sarah ... Goodbye, Liam, I said softly as they were dragged away. Clara screaming obscenities and Liam weeping, I took a sip of my champagne. The garden was silent for a moment, and then the conversation resumed, but the respect in the eyes of the people looking at me had doubled. The file in my hand felt heavier than a brick. I stood outside Mr. Thompson's office, taking a deep breath to steady my shaking hands. This wasn't just about petty theft or a lavish lifestyle anymore. This was criminal. I knocked once and opened the door. Mr. Thompson looked up from his desk, looking older than he had a month ago. Sarah? I'm in the middle of a call with the Tokyo branch. Hang up, I said softly but firmly. He frowned, lowering the phone. Excuse me? Hang up, sir, please. You need to see this immediately. He stared at me for a moment, then muttered a quick apology into the receiver and set it down. This better be good. Or bad. Depending on how you look at it. It's catastrophic, I said, walking forward and placing the folder on his blotter. I didn't sit down. I was cross-referencing the supply chain logistics for the Riverside project. I noticed a discrepancy in the steel grade. Mr. Thompson rubbed his temples. We already discussed the budget overrun, Sarah. Liam is handling it. Liam isn't handling it, I said, my voice void of emotion. He's faking it. Open the file to page 3. He flipped the cover open. What am I looking at? That is a safety compliance report signed by the city inspector, I explained, pointing to the signature. And on the next page is the invoice for the materials used in the foundation. He flipped the page. He squinted. The dates, they don't match. The materials were ordered after the inspection was signed, I said. And look at the vendor code. Grade C steel. The blueprints call for grade A. Mr. Thompson went pale. Grade C? That's for residential housing. Not a 40-story commercial tower. Exactly, I said, keeping my tone clinical. Liam bought cheap, substandard steel to make up for the money he stole from the budget. Then he forged the inspector's signature on the safety report to hide the timeline. Forged? Mr. Thompson whispered, the paper shaking in his hand. Are you telling me my son committed fraud? I'm telling you that if that building goes up, it will be structurally unsound. And when the inspectors come for the final check, they will find out. Thompson Global will be sued for negligence, fraud, and endangerment. The stock will go to zero. You will lose everything. He dropped the file as if it were burning him. He slumped back in his chair, staring at the ceiling. The silence stretched out, heavy and suffocating. He did it for the money? He asked weakly. He did it to impress Clara's father, I corrected. He needed to show he could bring the project in under budget to secure the marriage. He risked the entire company for his ego. Mr. Thompson covered his face with his hands. I didn't know. I swear, Sarah, I didn't know he was this reckless. I know you didn't, I said gently. That's why I brought it to you first. Before the board finds out. Before the press gets wind of it. Why? He asked, dropping his hands to look at me. His eyes were wet. After everything he did to you, why save us? I'm not saving Liam, I said honestly. I'm saving the company. There are thousands of employees who have nothing to do with your son's mistakes. They shouldn't lose their livelihoods because he wanted a faster car. Mr. Thompson looked at me for a long time. He looked at the professional suit I wore, the confidence in my posture, the clarity in my eyes. He shook his head slowly, a look of profound regret washing over his features. I was blind, he murmured. Sir? He stood up and walked around the desk, stopping in front of me. He looked like a broken man. You are the one who should have been my daughter-in-law, he said, his voice cracking. I traded a diamond for a stone. I felt a strange sensation in my chest. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't even pride. It was just a deep, heavy exhaustion. It's too late for that, Mr. Thompson, I said quietly. What do you want to do about the file? He straightened up, wiping his eyes. The CEO returned, if only for a moment. We call an emergency board meeting, he said, his voice hardening. And we end this. The air in the boardroom was so thick it felt hard to breathe. 20 grim-faced stakeholders sat around the mahogany table. Liam sat opposite me, looking sweaty and pale. Clara, uninvited but refusing to leave, sat behind him, glaring daggers at the back of my head. Let's begin, Ethan said from the head of the table. Sarah, you have the floor. I stood up, connecting my tablet to the main projector. Thank you. We are here to discuss the immediate solvency of the Riverside project. This is a witch hunt. Liam shouted, slamming his hand on the table. She's just an ex-girlfriend with a grudge. Sit down, Liam, Mr. Thompson said, his voice heavy with disappointment. Let her speak. I didn't react to Liam's outburst. I simply pressed a button. A spreadsheet filled the massive screen behind me. As you can see, I began, my voice steady. $3 million allocated for structural materials was diverted to a shell company in the Caymans. The authorization signature belongs to Liam Thompson. The room erupted in murmurs. That's a forgery. Clara yelled from the back. She hacked the system. Liam would never do that. The IP address used to authorize the transfer matches the Wi-Fi at your penthouse. Clara, I said, not even looking at her. Unless you have another explanation for why company funds were used to purchase a stable of thoroughbreds in your name. Clara's mouth fell open. She sank back into her chair. This is irrelevant, Liam stammered, loosening his tie. So I borrowed some capital. I was going to put it back once the project launched. I'm the CEO. I have discretion. You aren't the CEO yet, Ethan cut in, his voice like a blade. And you certainly don't have the discretion to commit fraud. But I saved money on the materials. Liam argued, desperate to find a foothold. I got a great deal on the steel. You bought grade C steel, I said, clicking to the next slide. You compromised the structural integrity of a 40-story building to cover your theft. That isn't management, Liam. That is criminal negligence. The board members gasped. One of the senior investors stood up. Is this true? Is the building unsafe? Yes, I answered. We have to halt construction immediately. You ruined everything. Liam screamed, jumping to his feet. His face was twisted in ugly rage. You did this. You couldn't stand seeing me happy, so you burned the company down. I didn't burn it, I said calmly. I just turned on the lights. It's personal. He shouted at the board. She's obsessed with me. She's lying about my character. Your character? I asked. I looked at Ethan, he nodded. If we are discussing character and intent, I said, facing the room, I have one final piece of evidence. This establishes that the fraud was premeditated long before the project began. I tapped the screen. The video player opened. It was the security footage from the church vestry on my wedding day. The audio was crystal clear. Liam's voice echoed through the boardroom. I need Clara's money for the buy-in. Sarah is just a placeholder. Once I'm CEO, I can dump the plain girl and get the cash. The silence that followed was absolute. On screen, Liam and Clara laughed a cruel, mocking sound that bounced off the boardroom walls. I paused the video. You weren't just stealing money, Liam, I said into the silence. You were selling the CEO position before you even had it. Liam stood there, trembling. He looked at his father, then at the board members. No one would meet his eyes. Dad? Liam whispered. Mr. Thompson stood up slowly. He looked at his son with a mixture of heartbreak and finality. You're fired, Liam, Mr. Thompson said quietly. Effective immediately. Security will escort you out. No. You can't. Clara shrieked, grabbing Liam's arm. We're the future. You are a liability, Ethan said. Mark? Remove them. Mark stepped forward, his hand heavy on Liam's shoulder. Liam didn't fight. He looked at me, his eyes wide and hollow, as if seeing me for the first time. Sarah, he breathed. Goodbye, Liam, I said. I watched them drag him out, his expensive shoes scuffing the carpet. The door closed, shutting out his pleas. I stood there, expecting to feel a rush of triumph. But as the adrenaline faded, I just felt light. The weight I had been carrying for months was finally gone. "Well done, Sarah," Ethan said softly. I looked at him and smiled. It was the first real smile I'd felt in a long time. "It's done," I whispered. The sun was setting behind the city skyline, casting long orange shadows across Ethan's office. It was quiet. The war was over. "Legal just sent the final update," Ethan said, tossing a thin file onto the desk. "Liam and Clara filed for bankruptcy this morning." I took a sip of the scotch he had poured for me. That was fast. "They have no liquid assets," Ethan explained, leaning back in his chair. "The lawsuit from the board froze their accounts. The press has destroyed their reputations. Nobody will hire Liam, and Clara's father has cut her off to save his own skin." "They are finished, Sarah." "It sounds terrible," I said, staring at the amber liquid in my glass. "Do you feel guilty?" Ethan asked, watching me closely. I thought about it. I thought about the church. The humiliation. The way Liam looked at me when he thought I was nothing. "No," I said, looking up. "I don't feel guilty. I feel clean. Like a debt has been paid." "Good," Ethan said. "Because you were ruthless in there. I've seen seasoned litigators crumble under that kind of pressure. You didn't even blink." "I had a good teacher," I replied with a small smile. I set the glass down and reached for my left hand. I slowly slid the massive diamond ring off my finger. It left a faint pale mark on my skin. I placed it on the mahogany desk between us. "I guess this belongs to you," I said. "The contract is fulfilled. Liam is out. You have full control of the company." Ethan looked at the ring, then up at me. "He didn't pick it up, so that's it?" He asked. "You just walk away?" "That was the deal, Ethan," I reminded him, standing up and smoothing my skirt. "I was the distraction. The weapon. You don't need a weapon during peacetime. Sit down, Sarah." "I really should go. I have to pack." "Sarah, sit down," he said, his voice dropping an octave. It wasn't a command this time. It was a request. I hesitated, then sank back into the chair. "What is it? Is there more paperwork?" Ethan stood up and walked around the desk. He leaned against the edge, just inches from my knees. For the first time since I met him, the mask of a cold, unfeeling CEO slipped. He looked human. "When I hired you," he began, crossing his arms, "I thought I was hiring a prop, a desperate woman I could mold into a corporate asset. I was arrogant. You were practical," I said. "I was wrong," he corrected. "I watched you transform. I watched you take the pain that should have destroyed you and turn it into steel. You didn't just play the part, Sarah, you became the part. You're smarter than half my board and tougher than my entire security team." My heart did a strange flip in my chest. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." "I don't want the ring back," he said abruptly. I blinked. "Ethan, it's worth a fortune." "I can't keep it." "I'm not talking about the ring as payment," he said, his eyes locking onto mine. "I'm talking about what it represents. A fake engagement? A partnership," he said intensely. "A real one." The room went silent. I could hear the hum of the server room down the hall. "What are you saying?" I whispered. "I'm saying I don't want you to leave," Ethan said. He reached out and took my hand, my bare left hand. His grip was warm and solid. "I don't want to find a new vice president, and I certainly don't want to go back to an empty house. I respect you, Sarah. I admire you. And if I'm being honest, I think I've fallen in love with the woman you've become." I stared at him, shock radiating through me. This was the man who had treated me like a transaction for months. But looking at him now, I saw the sincerity in his eyes. "You love me?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I love who you are now," he said softly. "Stay, not as a contract fiancé. Stay as my partner. In the company. In life. For real this time." I looked at our joined hands. I looked at the ring on the desk. For months, I had focused entirely on revenge. I had hollowed myself out to become a weapon against Liam. But in doing so, I had built a new version of myself. A woman who was strong, capable, and desirable to a man like Ethan Vance. I started, my mind racing. I never thought this was part of the plan. Forget the plan, Ethan said, squeezing my hand. What do you want? I looked into his eyes and realized something terrified me more than Liam's betrayal. I realized that part of me wanted to say yes, but another part, the no fierce part, wondered if I could exist without him. Asterisk, I looked down at the velvet box in my hand. Then back up at Ethan. His eyes were hopeful. Vulnerable in a way I had never seen before. It would be so easy to say yes. To step from one life of security into another. Far more powerful one, but the woman who had walked out of that church 3 months ago had been dependent. She defined herself by who she was with. I wasn't her anymore. I can't, Ethan, I whispered, closing the box and sliding it back across the desk. You don't feel it? He asked, his voice tight. The connection? I do, I admitted, stepping closer to him. I feel it. But that's the problem. I went from being Liam's shadow to being your weapon. I've never just been me. If I say yes now, I'll always wonder if I could have stood on my own 2 feet. Ethan stared at me for a long moment, then a slow, proud smile spread across his face. You really have changed. I had to, I said. I need to go. I need to build something that is mine. My name on the door. My capital. My risks and us? He asked. If it's real, I said, pausing at the door. It will wait until I'm ready, 6 months later. Sign here, Ms. Miller, the contractor said. Pointing to the bottom of the lease agreement, I signed my name with a flourish. Sarah Miller, CEO, Miller Consulting. It's a beautiful space, the contractor added, handing me the keys. Congratulations. Thank you, I said, looking around the empty, sunlit office. It wasn't as big as Thompson Global, but it was mine. Every inch of it. The glass door pushed open and Chloe breezed in, carrying 2 massive coffees. I come bearing caffeine and gossip, she announced, kicking the door shut behind her. Mostly gossip. I don't have time for gossip, Chloe. I have 3 clients starting on Monday. I laughed, taking a cup. You have time for this, Chloe said, sitting on the edge of my new desk. Guess who I saw at the tech center today? I don't know, Mark? No, Liam. I paused, the cup halfway to my mouth. Liam? Was he shopping? He was working, Chloe grinned. Wearing a blue polo shirt with a NAMA tag that said trainee. He was stocking printer paper. I blinked. He's working retail? Nobody would hire him after the fraud scandal, Chloe explained, looking far too pleased. He's blacklisted from every corporate job in the state. He looked old, Sarah, tired. And Clara? I asked. Gone, Chloe snorted. The second the money dried up, she bolted back to Europe. Left him with the debt and the lease on that ridiculous penthouse. He lost it all. I walked over to the window. I tried to find the anger that had fueled me for so long. I tried to find the satisfaction of revenge. But there was nothing. Just a quiet, calm silence. Do you want to go see him? Chloe asked softly. Drive by? Let him see you winning? I shook my head. No, I said, turning back to face my best friend. I don't need to see him. He's just a stranger now. A lesson I learned the hard way. You're really over it, Chloe realized, smiling. I am, I said, looking at the sign on my door. I had justice. I had strength. I had a future that I had built with my own hands. I didn't need to look back at the wreckage. Come on, I said, grabbing my laptop. Let's get to work. I have an empire to build. I smiled, finally free, knowing I had won back the only person who truly mattered, myself.